In this video, we'll be taking a look at one NFL game happening on January 17, 2026, and providing you with a free team pick and total pick for this game. So 2 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on this one NFL game after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Buffalo Bills versus Denver Broncos. Many folks in the betting space figured the Jaguars would be the ones moving on, riding the buzz around Liam Cohen and that revamped defense. Instead, that script got shredded. Buffalo walked out with its first road playoff win since 1992, and once again it came down to Josh Allen playing superhero with a battered body and zero hesitation. Early on, it looked like disaster for Buffalo. Allen appeared to bang up both his knee and his throwing hand on the same drive, the kind of sequence that usually swings a playoff game the other way. Instead of folding, he piled up 306 total yards and 3 total touchdowns, calmly dragging the Bills along whenever the moment felt a little too big for everyone else. Trevor Lawrence blinked first and then blinked again, tossing 2 brutal interceptions, including one on Jacksonville's final drive that basically handed Buffalo the win. The pattern with Buffalo did not really change. The Allen-led offense answered almost every time it had to, even when things were clunky, while the defense looked more good enough than truly imposing. Jacksonville went 5 of 9 on third downs and 3 of 4 in the red zone, which is not exactly what you want to see if you are trying to sell this Bills defense as a championship unit. If Lawrence avoids even one of those interceptions, we might be talking about a completely different bracket right now. That is the ongoing theme with Buffalo. The future still rests on Allen's shoulders because there is every reason to think this defense will keep giving opponents chances to stay in games. Now the ask gets tougher. Buffalo has to go on the road again, up in elevation in Denver, against a Broncos team that actually knows how to win close games and walks in with extra rest in its pocket. Travel, altitude, and a physical game in Jacksonville are not a fun trio for any roster, especially one so dependent on a single star at quarterback. Denver, on paper, feels like Buffalo's mirror image flipped. The Broncos lean on a defense that grades as top 5 in almost every key category, including a #1 ranking in opponent yards per game at 278.2. Their identity starts on that side of the ball. The offense, by contrast, tends to wake up only when it absolutely has to. Bo Nix and the rest of that unit live around average or slightly below average in most passing efficiency marks, including just 6.4 yards per pass, which sits 29th in the league. That is not exactly fireworks. It is a little ironic because Denver also owns one of the best offensive lines in football. They allow a sack on only 3.62% of their plays, second overall, which is an elite number that would make a lot of other quarterbacks drool. The protection is there. The production, at least in pure passing efficiency, often is not. Where Denver quietly shines is in high-leverage moments. This team is calm under pressure. They average 7.7 points in the fourth quarter and already have 5 fourth-quarter comebacks this season, which says plenty about their poise when things get tight. Buffalo is no slouch here either. The Bills average 9.2 points in the fourth quarter and have a few late-game rallies on their own resume, so neither sideline will panic if they are trailing by 1 score with 10 minutes left. That is why it feels very realistic that this matchup comes down to the final drive. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league staring at one of the best defenses in the league, and those kinds of battles usually get decided by 1 or 2 snaps that end up replayed on highlight shows for weeks. On the surface, going with the more rested home team, especially one that has such a strong defensive profile, is the default move for a lot of bettors. Home field, extra recovery time, and a defense that travels even when the offense does not. Those are the kind of edges that quietly add up. Zooming out to how the market has treated Buffalo, there is another wrinkle. The Bills drew a similar spread at Jacksonville. They were road favorites for most of the week before sharper bettors came in late and pushed that number around, flipping Buffalo to +1.5 by Friday. Now they open again as favorites against a well-rested Denver team, even though they are traveling for a second straight week right after a slugfest against the Jaguars. Josh Allen did not exactly walk out of that game fresh. He took shot after shot, had to be checked for a concussion, twisted his knee, and hurt his throwing hand in the process. He still finished the job, but his body took real punishment. On top of that, Buffalo is thin at receiver right now. Only 4 regular wideouts are fully healthy, and dual-threat running back Ty Johnson is banged up as well, which limits how creative this offense can be if things turn into a track meet. There is a counter-argument that always lingers with this team. You can absolutely talk yourself into Buffalo as an underdog-type side, even if they might not be the better overall roster. With a quarterback like Allen, that sometimes does not matter. Since December 2024, the Bills are 5-1 straight up and against the spread as underdogs, which tells you how dangerous they become when the market is slightly against them. Even with that, Denver's case is strong. The Broncos have home field, they have the rest advantage, and they have a defense that just keeps finding answers in key spots. Their offense is not nearly as poor as the reputation suggests either. They finished 10th in total offense and 14th in scoring, which lands them firmly in that better than people assume tier. Nix generally takes care of the ball, and there are capable playmakers on the perimeter who can win matchups if given time. This group also carries itself with real confidence. They have lost just 1 game since Week 4 and have taken 13 of their last 14, which builds a belief that they will figure it out even when the script goes sideways. This game has plenty of sweaty fourth quarter potential, the type where every third down feels enormous and every field goal comes with a deep breath. In that kind of environment, I still lean on Denver's defense to grind this thing across the finish line for the home team. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Broncos money line is our full game side pick. Now, shifting to the total, things get a little more nuanced. The number on this American Football Conference showdown sits in a kind of no man's land, which makes sense when you look closely at both profiles. Denver's offense, on the surface, produces a respectable 23.6 points per game, good for 14th in the league. If the Broncos are going to win here, there is a decent chance they need to exceed that average, and that expectation is part of why this total lands roughly around double their usual scoring output. Bo Nix is very much a rhythm passer. When he gets into a groove, especially under pressure, he can string together impressive drives and look like the exact quarterback this team needs. The problem is that it is far from steady. Drops have not helped him at all. Denver lost 313 yards to dropped passes this season, 5th most in the NFL, which is a brutal way to waste good play calls and accurate throws. Their ground game has also faded since J.K. Dobbins went down with an injury in Week 10. Before that, their EPA per rush sat 14th. Afterward, it fell to 25th, which is a big step backward and a sign that early down efficiency took a hit. Here is where things get interesting from a scoring standpoint. Buffalo's biggest defensive flaw is against the run. They allow 137.2 rushing yards per game, ranking 28th, and that is a glaring weakness, especially against teams that want to stay on schedule. So it is not entirely clear who truly owns the advantage when Denver's ground game, even in decline, meets Buffalo's soft run front. What feels more certain is the matchup through the air. Buffalo holds a clear edge against the pass. They profile as a top 5 pass defense in almost every relevant category, including opponent completion percentage, yards per pass, passing yards allowed per game, and interceptions. Against a passing attack that already leans on timing and confidence, those numbers are not friendly. The Bills can absolutely capitalize on Denver's passing inconsistencies and squeeze possessions, which directly impacts how many total points this game can reach. Most likely, though, the total swings on what happens when Allen and the Buffalo offense are on the field against that aggressive Denver defense. The Broncos lead the league in sacks, getting home on 10.29% of plays, and they now face one of the most dangerous running quarterbacks in the sport. Allen's improvisation and off-script magic need no introduction. What matters for this number is how consistently Buffalo can move the ball against a pass rush that rarely lets quarterbacks get comfortable. Across the season, Buffalo's offense has been incredibly reliable. They rank as a top 5 unit in nearly every important metric, sitting 2nd in yards per rush at 4.9, 3rd in yards per pass at 8, and averaging a strong 28.2 points per game, good for 4th. On the flip side, Denver's defense can basically match those claims. They sit top 4 or better in those same categories on the defensive side, which sets up a real strength versus strength collision whenever the Bills snap the ball. There are reasons to think the ceiling on Buffalo's offense will be lowered here. With the receiver injuries, their downfield attack is likely to be limited. The playbook shrinks when you do not trust your wideout depth fully. That pushes more responsibility to tight ends and to Khalil Shakir as primary options, which usually favors shorter throws and methodical drives rather than explosives. Denver's passing game does not scream fireworks either. Knicks ranks near the bottom in most air yards measures, and this offense leans heavily on yards after the catch. They are actually the third best yards after catch passing attack in the league, which is a real weapon when you can get the ball out quickly. The catch, though, is the opponent. Buffalo's defense has allowed the fewest yards after catch to receivers all season. And that is a direct clash of strengths that could blunt a lot of Denver's chunk gains through the air and encourage longer, slower marches. On the ground, Denver will almost certainly attack what it perceives as Buffalo's weak spot. They should try to chip away at that suspect run defense, stay out of bad third downs, and control time of possession. Their rushing attack has ticked up again in the home stretch, and it still runs behind one of the best offensive lines in football. That naturally points to a game script with sustained drives, fewer possessions, and less room for a wild shootout. We have already seen Buffalo struggle to post big numbers against defenses in this same tier. They managed only 12 points against Philadelphia, 19 against Houston, and 23 in a tight win over Cleveland, and all three of those defenses finished near the top of the league. Denver's defense sits right in that same neighborhood, which suggests that Buffalo's usual scoring average might be hard to reach. The setting adds another layer, even if the weather itself is not extreme. The Rocky Mountains around Denver will look wintry on Saturday, but the forecast is actually friendly. Temperatures around 44 degrees, sunny skies, and very little wind. Even on a pleasant January afternoon in Colorado, games between two physical, high-level defenses often lean toward slower starts and more conservative scripts. It would not be surprising to see both offenses feel each other out early, then open things up more in the second half when urgency kicks in. If this game starts sluggish, a second half over could be worth a look as adjustments kick in and tired legs show on defense. Still, when you put all the matchup pieces together, the expectation tilts toward fewer total points than the number suggests rather than a track meet. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.